Welcome to the Uncontested Investing Show, presented by REI Inc. magazine and sponsored by RCN Capital. Each week, we focus on bringing you candid convos from the best in the biz. Here's your host, Tim Harridge.
Welcome back to Uncontested Investing. I'm Tim Harridge. Thank you so much for stopping back by. Today, I'm with an absolute rock star, Brandon Brittingham. Brandon, thank you for being here, man.
Appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
So I'd like to start every week. Just tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
So I do a lot. You know, it's actually hard to kind of describe what I do.
Cliff notes.
Yeah. So basically, anything that has to do with a home sale, I own a company around it. And I've been in the investment space for a really long time, too. That's why I originally got into real estate, was to be in the investment space. Then I got into the retail side and basically just try to create the Amazon of real estate, you know, of like, how can we make it easy on the consumer? And then always had an affinity and love for investing in real estate. So I've always done that too.
Well, you know, I was lucky enough to sit next to you at Kent Clothier's boardroom in Chicago a month ago now.
Yeah.
God, 2 months ago. And I just remember I was sitting there and I was like, I had no idea who you were. And then I got up and spoke. And sometimes I'm a little bit of the alpha in the room and people like don't want to like give me feedback. And you like popped up and quietly, I can really help you with that problem. And then I heard the authority come out. I was like, so what you do then is I was like, whoa, who is this guy? And just the more and more the day got on, it was so fun to watch you pour into people.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited to have you here. So I start every episode with the bottom line up front. Just do me a favor, take 2 minutes, tell the audience the single most important things in today's market they need to be doing, avoiding, focused on, changing, just whatever you think the bottom line is for today's real estate investor. You good?
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah, so in today's market, you know, what I think a lot of people try to make the mistake is like timing the real estate market, right? And if you look at real estate over the whole, you're gonna make money if you understand how to underwrite a deal, right? And if I could do anything over again, one thing that I would tell people is like, figure out how to go after the bigger deals because it's just another zero, right? Your underwriting is the same, everything is the same. So a lot of apartment deals and things like that I've done, the underwriting is actually easier than like a smaller single family portfolio and it's way less pain. And then the appreciation and the economies of scale that I've gotten from apartments is just insane. And I think that asset class like apartments and single family houses, over time, they're just gonna beat anything that's out there. And it's one of the safest places I think to, you know, place your money. But people are always trying to like, should I buy now? Can I time the market? Can I this? Can I? Listen, you underwrite a deal, it's a good deal or it's a bad deal. And over time, if you buy and hold, the key to wealth is buying and holding, not emotionally selling, not buying on a whim, underwriting, being smart about what you do with your money and holding for the long term. If you study and pay attention to anybody that's wealthy, they hold cash producing assets, never pay taxes on it, keep buying more and figure out how to never sell it, pull their cash out of it to live off of, but they never sell anything, right? So if you follow that model in real estate, over time it's gonna make you wealthy. Don't care about timing the market, but right now, I think we're gonna see some pain, you know, across the United States. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's real. There's gonna be perceived pain from people that were probably smaller investors or they didn't know what they're doing. So I think there's opportunity. I would tell everybody right now, raise as much money as you can. Stack capital because there's gonna be opportunity. A bulk of my wealth that I have right now was because I bought a ton of stuff between 2008 and 2011. And today, those assets that I bought are like 10 and 15x. So stack capital now, wait for opportunity. Opportunity is gonna come, but if you see a good deal today, you don't wait. If you know how to underwrite a deal, you're gonna hold it for the long term. You're gonna make money either way. Don't just buy and sell, buy and hold. Buy and hold makes you wealthy.
So that's great. Stack cash and stack assets and take advantage of the compound effect of appreciation.
Yeah.
I think too many people underestimate the compound effect of appreciation. I was looking, I spoke at Scale and Escape recently, and I was looking for some good examples. People that, besides just Tim the lender telling them, buy houses and always pay interest, right? And it was an interesting thing I found in 1971, Warren Buffett bought a home in Laguna Beach. and he borrowed $120,000 against that home. And the CNBC host says, well, why would you have taken a mortgage? You didn't need it. He said, well, the interest rates were a little high, but I figured I could do better with the money than the interest would cost me. And he used it, and so that house, bought it for 150, turned into, it was worth 11 million when he sold it a couple years ago.
Of course.
And the CNBC lady was like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And he goes, no, I took the 120,000 and bought about 3,000 shares of Berkshire Hathaway for $40 a share. That's worth 750 million now.
Right.
Because he was so focused on stacking assets and acquiring, and, you know, the 70s were kind of bloody with inflation, just kind of like we're going through now. And it's just funny how, you know, more people need to understand that. If you got to pay 7% to go make 30, you're not paying 7.
Right.
You agree?
Yeah, and I see the thing that, you know, in talking to people and helping them invest in real estate, like a lot of people don't get and understand, like, and this is, here's a simple analogy that anyone can understand. Go back to when you were a kid, right? If the neighborhood you grew up in, you bought 10 houses, right? How old are you now?
44.
So let's just say that in your 20s, you bought 10 houses, right? You figured out how to amass 10 houses. Do you know what I mean? Think about if you just held them till today. You did nothing but held them to today. You got a mortgage against them, right? And probably today, there's a good chance you probably have them paid off, right? How much would they have appreciated in value? Double, triple, maybe more, right? How much would your rent be? Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
So think about it. If you bought 10 houses and you did nothing but keep them your entire life, one day you're going to wake up. Let's just say you paid $300,000 for them 20 years ago. You're going to wake up. They're going to be worth $600,000, maybe $900,000. They're going to be paid off. You might have started rent at $1,500. Now your rent's $4,000. So you're waking up every day with 10 houses paying you $4,000 a month that are worth $900,000, let's just say. Be conservative. Say they're worth $600,000 a piece. You got a $6 million asset paying you every single month. And to your example, if you wanted to take money out and go invest in other things, you could too. Most people out there in this world could figure out how to buy 10 rental properties and hold them. And if you did nothing else, that will make you wealthy later on in life. People just don't get or understand that, or they think you have to amass this, you know, crazy, huge portfolio. Now, I think that way because I'm kind of a psychopath as far as
kind of
building businesses and things like that. But your average person, you know, like I work with investors all the time. I've watched it happen, right? I'll give you a prime example. I helped a doctor around 2010 buy some assets, right? And he's like, oh, time the market and this. And I said, no, just trust me. Buy the houses and just sit on them, right? And last year, because for what he needed to do, he was going to go open 2 and 3 more practices, which was going to give him a hell of an ROI on his money. Well, we liquidated the assets for him. He tripled, right? So he took the money out of it and he was able to go, you know, build the rest of his practices. Dude, real estate, time is undefeated. Like, time is undefeated. If you just wait, you're going to become wealthy.
So anyone listening needs to go watch that Buffett video I'm talking about. And it's called The Oracle of Real Estate. It was a CNBC interview in March of 2017. And one of the cool things about that entire experiment is I kind of thought the same way you reacted. Of course, Buffett turned 150 into 11 million. But I thought, wait, my parents bought the house we lived in around 1980, so 9 years later, for $17,000. Well, I know that house is worth $270,000 today, right? So in 40 years, right, it's about a 6,200% increase.
Right.
What people don't understand, it's only 8.25% per year compounded.
Right.
And the Laguna Beach house only did 9.25% compounded. The difference is what you said in the opening. Warren started with a bigger number.
Yeah.
Because 5% of a million is a lot more than 5% of 100,000.
Yeah, 100%.
And so I think that's where it's taken me 20 years in the business to get there. The only way I keep growing at the rate of growth that's significant for me once I've gotten where I am is to continue to convert that equity that's not necessarily producing high value returns and to put it into as many bigger, safe, responsible assets. I don't think either of us were advocating to just go buy the first multifamily property you see, right?
No, don't do that.
Learn to underwrite it. Find a good sponsor that's someone that helps you raise money or helps you invest money that they raise. Invest with someone you can trust, someone with a track record. But you got to be into the bigger transactions to make, because then your money works harder.
Yeah, 100%. One thing that I want to say, this stuck with me. You said this at Scale and Escape, and I've used this. I've quoted you on this a few times. You know, you can buy leads, you can buy people, you can buy anything, but you can't buy a track record. And that was a profound statement that you made. And as a matter of fact, I went home and I was negotiating a deal with another bank, and they were trying to squeeze me a little bit, and I actually used that line. And I said, look, you guys, I've been borrowing money from you for 15 years. I'm probably one of the safest borrowers that you have. You know, we've brought you a slam dunk deal, and the one thing that I got that you cannot deny is a track record.
Right.
Hundreds of projects under my belt, and I've paid you guys back millions and millions of dollars and never had an issue, right? Even in the worst of times. So I think, to your point, you know, if you're a novice or you're getting into this, like, look for people with track records, because that's something you cannot buy. Well,
and also, and we're going to take a break in just a second, but one of the things that you said earlier that I wanted to circle back to, you can't have a track record unless you start.
Yeah.
And what people don't understand is, if you get into a nice, safe, kind of cookie cutter, bread and butter deal, single family home, even if it goes down 5% in the next 12 months, that's fine.
Yeah.
Because that rock may hit the bottom and shoot all the way up. I can almost guarantee you the rent won't go down in the next 6 months.
No.
So what does that matter?
Yeah.
In 08, I lived through it like you. You did better than me in 08. None of my rents went down. I mean,
they went up.
They went up.
Yeah, they went up. So that's the other thing that I think, when you look at real estate as a whole, right? And then again, like, if you're getting into it, the first deal you're going to get into, you're not getting into multifamily more than likely, right? So you get a couple single families under your belt, you get an understanding of how real estate works, right? So rents typically never go down. In fact, they typically always go up. The thing that I like about real estate too is you can always underwrite it to say, well, I know it's going to always get $1,500 or $1,600 a month, whatever the case is, right? We know it's never going to go to zero.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It's not going to zero.
Well, the government just showed that if we tell everyone to stay home, we're going to give them money to stay home and then more money to pay their rent. So it kind of works out on both assets, right?
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at the trajectory of rent of where we are as a country, I mean, you know, it's never going down. And to your point, in 08, like, when the world was crashing, like, we were raising rents, right? And because there was a shortage of rental properties, because people were losing their single family house or whatever the case was, and they still had to live somewhere. And then that created a whole sub-segment of people who are probably going to always rent. Do you know what I mean? And there's always going to be a sub-segment of people who are always going to rent, which is going to always increase your rental numbers, right? And rents are not going to go down. Like, that's just, it's a fact.
So I'm loving this. We're going to take a break. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about raising money and some of your best advice on that. I want to talk about the transition from investing to retail, then back to investing, then even into bigger deals. And then I really want to spend some time talking about mindset and really the mindset of being a business owner and how to get through tough times. So stick around. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for fast funding for your next fix and flip? What about leverage for your next long-term rental or vacation rental? Need capital for a new construction project? Look no further. RCN Capital has you covered. As the leading nationwide lender for real estate investors, RCN Capital offers short-term and long-term financing solutions for your next investment property. RCN Capital takes a common-sense approach to your loan request, offering high leverages and low rates backed by superior customer service. Whether you're investing in single-family properties or multifamily properties across the U.S., RCN Capital has funding options for you with no hoops to jump through and quick closings in as little as 2 weeks. Ready to get a quote for your next investment property? Visit rcncapital.com/podcast to apply today. There is no fee to apply. Again, that's rcncapital.com/podcast to apply today.
Welcome back to Uncontested Investing. I'm still here with Brandon. Brandon, let's jump right in to 2008.
Yeah.
Or jump back to 2008.
Sure.
You said something that I wrote down, and I've told my wife several times since then. You were like, I saw the market crashing. I saw everyone getting out, everyone running away. I said, blanket. And I think you said you took your last $200,000 and just put it into advertising.
Yeah.
So what did it take to do that, and how did it work out for you?
Man, I'm a little bit insane. So what happened was in 2008, like things started to get really tough. And psychologically, what happens with most people when they get that type of pressure, they get in that situations, they shut down, right? So then what happens? People just don't do anything.
Right.
And so we were still in the real estate investment business. The banks still trusted us. They were still willing to lend us money, right? So where I live, we really got crushed like 2009 because we're always a little bit farther behind, right?
Right.
So our recession really kind of hit in 2009. You know, we were feeling it in 2008, but then 2009 it was scary, right? So I'm looking around.
That's when rates peaked, was late 2008.
Yeah.
So it really.
Yeah. So I'm looking around and I'm like, everybody's scared. My competition, everybody's shutting down shop. People are going home with their tails between their legs. And the $200,000 that we had in the bank was borrowed money. It wasn't even mine. Do you know what I mean? And because I had all my money allocated, right? I mean, we had millions of dollars in projects and everything else. And I just said, you know, I'm either going to go completely flat broke and that's it, or I just had this feeling that we were going to come out on the other side of it, and the consumer, right, is going to pay attention to who's visible when times are tough. So I just said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take out that money. I'm going to buy ads in magazines because, you know, internet marketing was just kind of into infancy.
Yeah.
So we spent some money there. We bought billboards. We bought radio. We bought TV. And then all of a sudden the phone starts ringing, right? Because everybody, and then what we kept hearing repeatedly is they're like, well, everything's like going like bad, but we see you guys everywhere. Like you're visible, right? No one else is advertising, you're advertising. So then what happened is naturally everybody started becoming drawn to us. And then so we built a huge brand in the first recession that I had ever experienced. And it was because honestly, I was willing to take that gamble.
So when I first heard you telling that story, I was assuming that you were taking out ads, we buy houses, cash for houses.
Yeah.
You know, sell your house now, avoid foreclosure. But then when I actually got to know you and Rich, blew my mind the ads you were taking. Could you talk a little bit about the advertising you were doing, why you were doing it, and how that related to maybe the pain of the customer at the time?
Yeah, so it was a couple of things, right? And so this is what I think, as a business owner, here's the mistake that we make sometimes, right? We walk through the journey of a sale or whatever it is in our mind, right? But you don't walk through the journey through a consumer's mind, right? So what I started thinking about and paying attention to is how do I connect and relate to the consumer in the time that we're in, right? So yeah, we did all the things that you're talking about, but then also what we started doing was the guaranteed sale. Do you know what I mean? So in tough times, like, you know, you want something that's guaranteed. So, you know, we'd put things out like there's only 2 things guaranteed in life, you know, paying taxes and selling your house with us, you know, things like that. We, you know, started playing words, doing different catchy things. And then, so then basically we built this brand that if you want to get your house sold, whether it's us paying cash for it, bringing in investors, selling it retail, whatever the case is, we built that brand in the first recession. And then we got the know, like, and trust from the consumer, and then it exploded, right? So when things like started to get better, we started growing 100, 200, 300% because we had established the authority when no one else was willing to, right? So then we started thinking about, well, how do we solve the pain points of the consumer, right? And so if you think about it, selling your house retail sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about walking through that process, you got strangers coming in and out of your house. You know,
well, most people, they only do it once.
Right. And it's a painful process. It's archaic. It's broken, in my opinion. And so that's why we said the guaranteed sale. And even, and if you were a customer that called me today, I'd say, Tim, here's the thing. Retail number is X. The number for us to buy it is Y. Which one would you rather do? I'm going to give you both options. And over time, I got surprised how many people would go with Y, because they're like, I don't want somebody coming here taking a crap on my toilet or whatever else, right?
Yeah.
Or speed or whatever. And then I like really started to think about getting into the mindset of the consumer of how can I pair this up every time? So it was like, you know, we have new construction as an example. So you take the wife in, she looks at the new construction house. She's like, oh my God, I want this kitchen. And then they forget about, like, I don't necessarily have to get all the equity out of my house. I want you to buy it so you can put me in that new house, right? So then that's when we got really deep into the mindset of how do we solve the problem for the consumer, right? And we have an option, which played into our investment side, and we're upfront and honest with them, and we tell them, and who else has proven this? Amazon, right? You'll pay more for convenience. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the consumer now is built on speed. Think about it. You go to another city, you're old enough, and so am I, to remember when we didn't have Uber, and we would get off the plane, and we had a meeting somewhere, and you'd have to call a cab, and that whole system. Now you get off a plane, you go on your phone. If an Uber is more than 3 minutes, you're gonna get pissed off.
Right.
Well, that's the consumer you're selling to, and they're built on speed and convenience.
So it's very interesting to me because there were several people in the DFW area that ended up doing that, the guaranteed sale, your home sold in 90 days or less, or we'll buy it ourselves type thing. And when you started talking about that a couple weeks ago, I was like, wow, that's such an applicable strategy for the way the sellers are feeling right now. Because I think there's so much more fear in the retail market than like in our acquisitions, because we like, oh, the rents, like we really like to build on it. Talk a little bit though. There's people out there listening, because I think the last number I read was 80-something% of investors are also licensed realtors. Mm-hmm. So they're sitting there listening. Oh, he's a fiduciary. He's not doing what he's supposed to do. But you don't work with a no-name company. You have a Long and Foster. I guess you own the entire state now.
Yeah, so
it's a well-known brand. It's not like a illegitimate thing. Talk about how you maintain the trust and confidence from an ethical point of view.
So at the end of the day, right, know, like, and trust is everything, right? Trust is everything. The crazy thing is, you'll appreciate this as a lender. If I break trust with you, you'll never lend me money, right? If you break trust with the consumer, they'll never do business with you. So I look at everything of, I want you to be my customer. I want us to have a relationship for 20 years. So in order for me to have a relationship with you for 20 years, I might have to leave money on the table. And that's okay, right? So everything that we come from is from a standpoint of how does the consumer win, and we win also. And we're upfront with them. Right. We're like, hey, the market value of your house is $300,000. We're going to pay $250 or $260, whatever the case is, right? Depending on how we underwrite the deal. Yeah. What would you rather do? And we give them the option, and they don't have to do it. There's some cases where they have to do it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And we never try to take advantage of anybody. We try to make it a win-win. I'll give you a prime example. We just flipped a house. We made $90,000 on it, which is great for a flip. And the homeowner had initially called me to list the house, and he broke his back. Ugh. And he bought a house in Myrtle Beach, which is his dream house. He's retired, right? And he had to do a bunch of repairs to the house to get it to market condition. Well, he couldn't. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And then he was in a pressure situation that he was going to lose his dream house. So I was like, here's what I can pay for you, and I can take on the repairs and everything, and you can get out and move on. And, I told him the market value of your house, even the way it sits, is probably X. I'm going to pay less than that, but I can pay cash and get you out of here. Right. And he said, in my situation, I want you to pay cash and get me out of here. Do you know what I mean? So in his situation, that was the fiduciary, because he was going to lose his dream house. And the thing is, you put your house on the retail market, you get it under contract, it's not guaranteed, deals fall through, people change their mind, whatever the case is. People are willing to give up some equity in order to have peace of mind. Right. I know what day I'm settling, I can plan everything around it, whatever the case is. And we always look through the lens of, how do I help the consumer? And we couldn't have built the brand as big as we did if we didn't have know, like, and trust from the consumer. So we're coming up on another break, but I really want to understand and hear a little bit. We talked about it at dinner recently. Your philosophy on raising money, specifically private money that may or may not be secured at the time you collect it. Mm-hmm. How do you talk about
how you hold yourself accountable to your investors?
So it's a couple things, right? We talked about the trust thing, but one of my core values in our company is do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. So if I tell you I'm going to call you at 5 o'clock, I got to call you at 5 o'clock, right? I live and breathe that, and I believe in that so much. If you're an investor with me and I tell you I'm going to give you 8%, I can't give you 7.99. I got to give you 8%. Then I also believe in over delivering. So if I tell you 8, I'm really probably going to give you 10. I'm just not going to tell you that, right? Because I'd rather over deliver. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what we do, if someone's not secured in a fund or whatever the case is, I personally guarantee it. I personally guarantee everything that we do, because for me, it's such a big deal for an investor to have peace of mind. Giving money to Brandon is like putting money in the bank. And when you live from that standpoint and people know, like, and trust you, and they know their money's safe with you, you have the ability to raise an enormous amount of capital at any given time.
That's right. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll come right back with the Money Minute and then Rapid Fire. Stick around.
REI Inc. is a monthly business publication for real estate investors, covering all types of real estate investments and strategies. It is the most comprehensive real estate investment publication on the market. All of the articles are written by the top leaders in the industry, so investors are assured of always getting the best information possible. Each month, REI Inc. also profiles the top companies in the industry and provides insights and data into key regional markets. Along with their sister platforms, the REI Referral Network and Highest Invest, real estate investors have exclusive access to off-market investment opportunities and national acquisition and disposition initiatives. To learn more, visit www.rei-inc.com, where you can also access the REI Referral Network. Also, be sure and visit www.highest-and-vest.com to view the latest exclusive off-market assets with near immediate acceptance decisions and closing strategies. You can also email marketing@rei-referralnetwork.com to request more information.
Welcome back to Uncontested Investing. I'm Tim Harris. I'm still here with Brandon. Brandon, it is time for the Money Minute. This is my favorite point of the show. 60 seconds. Pour in to the audience the best thing you got. You ready? Mm-hmm. Go.
So if I could tell my younger self something, it would be that the myth that we all think we have is that we have more time. And if you want to think about it from this standpoint, if someone gave you a gift and you threw it away, you would get pretty upset. Every single day that we wake up, we've been given a gift. And if you were to ever look back on your life and tomorrow you were told you had a week left to live, and I said, I'll give you a drink that can give you 1 day of your life back, what would you pay for that? You'd pay everything. But if I told you I'm not going to tell you what day you get back, and you go back to a day where you are in indecision, where you're afraid to make a decision, or you're afraid to pursue your dreams or whatever you wanted to go after, then that would suck. That was the day that you got back. People think that we have more time. When I was very young, had a near-death experience, so I look at time completely different. The thing about it is, a lot of things that you're scared of and that you fear are not based on anything real. It's based on an experience that someone else has had that you haven't had. You think you have more time and you don't. And if you're faced with a situation like I was, where I was told I didn't have any time left, when I got out of that situation, I said, I'm gonna live every single day to the fullest, and the craziest, wildest shit that I think I can go achieve, I'm just gonna go do it. So don't think you have more time. Do not live in fear, because guess what? One day you're gonna wake up and you're gonna wish you had that day back that you spent in fear and indecision.
So people tell me all the time, I love real estate. And I'm like, no, you don't. You like making millions of dollars, right? There's none of us, we all started out buying belly to belly at a kitchen table where some old lady, I can't say, somebody's blowing smoke in your face, or the house stinks, or there's cockroaches. And there's no human on earth that ever was born, and when they were 7, said they wanted to do that.
Yeah.
Right? Like we love the result, right?
100%.
And if you go to my website, the headline says, the business is the vehicle, not the dream. Mm-hmm. Because there's been some very important times in my children's life that I was not there.
Yeah.
That I was busy.
Yeah.
I was running my business.
Yeah.
I was taking care of my family.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a near-death experience, but there's still things that you can never undo.
Sure.
So I love that advice. It's something near and dear to my heart. So we're going to get into rapid fire because I've got a lot of questions,
Sure.
and we're going to run out of time soon. How much is enough? When do you quit?
So you should never live in destination. Destination is a false narrative. And if that's how you run, you'll have a hole that will never be filled. It's the process. And the thing is, people say balance. Balance is BS. It's harmony. So that's what I believe and how I live my life, right? So from a standpoint of like when I'm with my family, I'm locked in, right? When I'm with my significant other, I'm locked in. So that's, to me, is harmony. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because balance is a myth.
Right.
And if you want to make a dent in this world, if you live in balance, you're going to lose. You know, you just got to have harmony. When I'm around the people I love, I pour into them and I'm present. Do you know what I mean? If you have the ability to be present, you will crush it in business. You will crush it in your relationships. You'll crush it physically in your health. But you live in harmony. You don't live in balance. And that's what I believe in.
How many pets do you have?
9.
What, dogs, cats, horses,
All
goats?
dogs.
All dogs.
Yeah.
Why?
I rescued one and I kept going. I think I have I'm obsessed with like titles and belts.
Yeah.
And like, winning everything. And I didn't know anybody else with 9 dogs. So.
Well, there's no balance there, but I'm sure they all sing in chorus when you get home.
Right, exactly.
Apex Investors, it's a mastermind. Is it a mastermind?
It is, yeah.
For real estate investors, but it's really more, it's business owners and all that. Can you talk to me about why someone that makes as much money as you would spend their time doing that?
So again, like the craziest thing is a couple of things, right? I get energy from pouring into other people. I absolutely love it. I don't know how to describe that feeling. Making a lot of money is awesome. Let's not get that twisted.
Right.
But there's another side to when you teach someone else to be successful and you watch them become successful. There's no other feeling in this world that replaces that. And when you speak on a stage or in a mastermind, and you feel the energy of the room change, and you know that you said something that changed their life, or you literally can feel the emotional swing of you've poured into people and they got it. Man, that's an addiction.
There are some young men, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Jarrett Broussard. Jackson Smith and Jigba and Corbin Cleveland both play for Ohio State on the football team. Jarrett Broussard is a running back from Michigan State. And Sam Bartas plays offensive line for Arkansas Tech. And Tanner McAllister is a DB for Ohio State. I tell you all that because it's not like I'm just randomly naming college football players, right? They all played football with my oldest son. Mm-hmm. And I was a little league football coach for the 15 years up until last year. My oldest son and my youngest son.
Yeah.
So it's my first year in 15 years where I'm not coaching little league football. And it's one of the best things I've ever done in my life. Just to pour into those young men. Some of them, not some of those I'm naming, I'm just in general, some of the kids on the team, they don't have a father figure. They come from a home that they don't have the money to buy cleats.
Yeah.
It just, I think I'm just echoing what you said with my own story. It's just, when I look back, number one, I'm kind of glad it's over because I get my Saturdays back. I get to go to Texas OU game this weekend, and I hadn't been able to go for 15 years.
Right.
But it's also probably the single greatest impact to humanity I've personally had.
Yeah, and so here's the thing, going back to the harmony conversation, right? Like harmony is your bank account, right? That's one of them. Yeah. It is. Harmony is physically how you treat yourself, your condition. And then you have the emotional and you have the soul side of it. And for me, the soul side of it is pouring into other people.
Right.
And helping other people become successful. And it's just, there's no other feeling that anything I've ever done in my life, I can't compare it to anything as far as what it does for me, for my soul.
If you had to pick one business that you're in right now, and someone was going to take the rest of them away from you tomorrow, which one would you pick and why?
Well, it's twofold because raising money, I got to deploy it somewhere. But I love raising money and I love deploying it into deals, right? So if today you said you can only have one, it'd be raising money and putting it into apartment buildings.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
So it'd be raising money and deploying capital.
Yep.
You'd be a fund manager.
Yep.
Yeah. And I love your thought processes on it. We talked a lot about it at dinner that night, and I just, it's something near and dear to my heart. Brandon, your public speaking style is very interesting. There's a lot of people out there thinking, well, I could never speak to 3,000 people.
Yeah.
You don't seem like you've got a bit of a shy demeanor, especially in a quiet demeanor.
Yeah.
But you really elevate and come alive on stage. Can you tell me what that's about?
Yeah. So, it's kind of like I live in this world where, I have an alter ego, right? And so one of the most famous people that had an alter ego was Kobe Bryant, the Mamba mentality, right? Yep. Kobe, I don't want to be your friend. I don't want to shake your hand. Like, when I get on the court, like, I'm just trying to absolutely kill you. So for me, I always had this fear of public speaking, and I still get scared. Like, it scares me to death to this day, right? So my persona on stage is Ric Flair. So I just go into Ric Flair.
Can we get an image of Ric Flair over the screen?
And what's cool is the thing that I've learned in life is you get a lot farther by listening than speaking. So a lot of times when I'm in any room, I'm reading the room and I'm paying attention and I'm absorbing, right? And the other thing too is because I believe in time differently, I don't want to waste people's time. So when I speak, I try to be impactful. And when I have a conversation with you or anyone, I want to be impactful. I just don't want to shoot the shit and do nonsense. I want to bring value to your life. So when I go on stage, I'm obviously a pretty intense person with the amount of businesses and stuff that I run.
Yeah.
And I have to motivate and inspire my 100+ people that work for me. I channel all that shit and I channel the Ric Flair and I get loose.
Well, that is the perfect way to end. I hope they got your tennis shoes. Are those even called tennis shoes?
I mean, you could call them tennis shoes.
Your red pointy shoes. I hope they got those in the video. If anyone wants to connect with Ric Flair, how do they do it?
Facebook, just shoot me a message, DM me. You go on social media, you'll figure out all my stuff, or Instagram. People are always making fake accounts. I'm never going to ask you for money through a DM. So Facebook's probably the best way. Just shoot me a message.
Very good, man. Well, thank you for being here. We're out of time. We could go for hours. Thank you again for taking your time to listen to us. Remember, your network is your net worth, and today you've been growing both. We'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to Uncontested Investing. Questions about today's episode or the podcast? Email podcast@rcncapital.com and make sure to follow REI Inc. magazine on LinkedIn and Facebook, and RCN Capital on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. See you all next time.